Well, we went from thinking, can the Patriots take the AFC East to now potentially having to talk about if the Patriots could steal the number one seed out of the AFC. I mean, this is amazing, the turn of events that has occurred this season, and it's mostly due to the team just meshing. You heard me earlier this season just talking about if they can just come together, get their identity, and just play the way they should have played from the beginning of the season, that this team would be very special. And over the course of the last 5 games, and really before that, because the Cowboys game, the Buccaneers games should have been wins anyway. I mean, that was very winnable games. It's amazing what they've been able to achieve just since the beginning of the season. And it's a classic case again of them just finding their identity and getting it together. If you were a part of our channel before the season started, you always heard me talking about how the run game was going to be key this season. The defense playing really well was going to be key this season. Those are the two things that were not meshing during the earlier, uglier half of this season for the Patriots. And these are also the things that the team has really relied on during the latter half, the better half of this season for the Patriots, and really when they've been able to get their act together and play really, really well. So it's amazing that they've become the team that we thought that would be really well before the season even started. Now, to win the number one seed in the AFC this week, the Patriots obviously have to beat the Titans, which is a hard feat. I mean, every single win we've had so far outside of the Jets, yeah, outside of the Jets has been a little tougher. The Panthers, going into that one was a little sketchy. We didn't have a winning record yet, so it was a little tough to picture it as an easy win. But we ended up winning that game. Falcons, as easy as that seems, was also a pretty difficult matchup heading into it, and they tended to just play really well against them. And then obviously the Chargers was a really tough matchup as well. So there's been multiple games that were really tough and seemed tough, and the Patriots have just gone into it and won the game. But this is not going to be an easy final portion of the season, okay? We have the Titans, the Colts, and then the Bills twice. That's going to be the toughest four matchups right there, and that happens to be our next four matchups. So this is really going to tell, will this team step up and become a great team? Right now, they are a very good team, in my opinion. But to be considered a great team, they have to win at least 3 out of those 4 games, I would say, in my opinion. You can afford to lose one, but if they lose two or even three or even four, which anything's possible in the world, they could go 0-4 in those games and they could go 4-0 or anything in between. That's how Earth works. I don't know why I have to explain that, but that's how Earth works. Anything can happen. But if they win a majority of those 4 games, I am going to be extremely impressed. I think regardless, let's say this season ended today, I feel like this team has outperformed everyone's expectations, and it's just been amazing to watch. And the future of this team seems so bright. I really have to commend the Patriots on this previous draft. You get Mac Jones, who is obviously working out thus far. You get uh, you get Christian Barmore, who's been a star so far on the defensive side, has a long way to develop, but I expect that he will, and he'll become our defensive nose tackle, defensive tackle for years to come. Very, very good player. And then Ramondre Stevenson, who arguably could even be better than Damian Harris. I mean, it's really right there neck and neck. They're both extremely good, but it's good to have two. I'm really thankful we have two really good running backs, and we have options moving forward at the running back position. And then a lot of the players after that point we haven't gotten to see really play. You got Cameron McGrone, who has a lot of potential out of Michigan, the linebacker, and he's been injured the entire season so far, but he's actually returned to practice now. And the craziest part about Cameron McGrone, and this is a weird moment for me, but he's actually younger than me. So I was born in March of 2000, and he was born in May of 2000. It's just weird when, I don't know, I feel old. That's really strange. I just realized that actually. So Cameron McGrone, really young, really talented guy, young guy. I can say that now. Ronnie Perkins, round 3. He showed a lot of promise in the preseason, if you remember, but he's been out the entire season. I'm not exactly sure when his return is expected, but it's expected eventually, obviously. So we'll have to see what he has in store. And then Joshua Bledsoe, who's been injured this season, also returned to practice as well with Cameron McGrone. And then also we haven't really seen a lot from Trey Nixon, the wide receiver from round 7. So there's multiple guys actually that we haven't seen play. There could be another star in this draft. There could be another good player, which is crazy to think about because there's already been 3 stars in this draft. I mean, if you get 1 or 2 stars in a draft, that's a good draft, but 3 is a really great draft. I mean, I looked back at the Patriots draft history, and if Ramondre Stevenson, Christian Barmore, and Mac Jones stay really good and continue to develop and get better, this will be like a top 3 or 5 draft in Bill Belichick's history with the Patriots, which is amazing to think about. And actually, last year's draft wasn't too bad either. They've strung together a couple of good drafts, and if they can get another good one next year, look out because we'll be building another really good team for the next 5 to 10 seasons. But so far, we've only seen Ramondre Stevenson, Christian Barmore, and Mac Jones in the regular season. All 3 have been stars. So it's going to be amazing to see if they can add another one out of those other 3 or 4 players that I mentioned. That's also a starting caliber player. That, I mean, it could be 4 or 5 really good players in this draft, which is amazing to think about. I loved this draft since the day it happened, and I think they just, every single pick was spot on. I loved what they did with every single one of them. And look, kind of to bring it back full circle here. This Thanksgiving Day, tomorrow from the time I'm making this video, the Bills are playing the Saints, okay? If the Bills lose to the Saints, which isn't too far-fetched to think about. I mean, they've been losing some games. They've been losing a lot of games, and I would say so far in the last half of the season, they've been more of a losing team than a winning team, and they've not been a very good team. So, here's the thing. If they lose to the Saints, that gives us a lot of buffer, the Patriots, because at that point, the Patriots could lose to the Titans and still maintain control of the division. It's going to be a lot of pressure on the Patriots, and it's going to be a nail biter if the Bills beat the Saints, because then the Bills could retain power in the AFC East if the Patriots are to lose to the Titans. Um, the best scenario, obviously, is if the Bills lose to the Saints tomorrow night. All of us are going to be watching that. I highly recommend you watch it as well because it's almost as important as an actual Patriots game to the Patriots. It's very important to us. But if the Bills lose that game and then the Patriots win versus the Titans, that's the best scenario, obviously, because we're going to be building an even bigger lead in the division, and that's important heading into 2 matchups with the Bills. But what remains true is that the Patriots control their destiny. Okay, if they beat the Bills twice, we're basically guaranteed the division. So they control their future. It's very fun to think about. I'm very excited for the future for this team. And again, regardless, if we lose every single game from this point on, I think still this season has been a success story overall compared to last season. And it's just making me so optimistic about the near future and even the far future of this team. And I'm sure a lot of you other fans feel that way as well. Very excited about what's coming up next. Now, I probably won't make a video tomorrow since it's Thanksgiving, but Friday I expect to make a video about how that Bills and Saints game went, and we'll also talk about the upcoming game versus the Titans as well then. So anyway, like the video, comment down below, and subscribe for the best Patriots content on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video.